Good morning, New Vision Center. My name is Reverend Leslie. I'm one of your senior ministers, along with Reverend Karen, who was our practitioner of the day. And you know, they tell us when you become a minister, you never stop being a practitioner. And it turns out sometimes you even get to do the job. So a big thank you to everybody who is stepping into unusual roles today. We had a surprise morning where we didn't have our typical practitioner was unavailable this morning. And so we actually have, we're going to send some loving vibes. We have a practitioner in training, a student holding our high watch today. So we're just going to send little lovey vibes over to Heather because we know she's got this, right? High watch is one of the many ways we show love to one another around here. It means that every time you're here in this sanctuary or participating on online campus, there is someone holding you in prayer and love and knowing that your highest and best is unfolding. So if you feel different when you participate, when you come into the room or you come into the online room, that's a big piece of why, because you're being held in this container of love. We're so grateful for it. So you may know, you may not know. If you don't, let's catch you up. We are in the middle of a monthly theme called One with the Abundant Universe. So let that sink in. One with the abundant universe. And over the course of the month, we've talked about oneness through the lens of gratitude. We've talked about oneness through the lens of courage, because it can take some courage to step fully into the idea of absolute oneness, abundance. We've talked about it through the lens of generosity. And today I have the great honor of talking about it through the lens of love. So as I'm thinking about this talk, as we often do, I'm sitting there thinking, well, if I'm one with the abundant universe, of course I'm in a state of universal love, right? I mean, because of course. And then you turn on the news, or you talk to a person, or another person, and God forbid you go on social media, and you find out that maybe everyone everywhere isn't constantly existing in the state of absolute, beautiful, perfect, agape, unconditional, Christ consciousness love. I know this is foreign to you because you are always there. This I know. But just in case you've ever in your life encountered anyone who isn't, like me, every third minute of every day of forever. It used to be every other minute, so I'm doing better. So it leads me to wonder, what is it about this idea that we have infinite, universal, absolute oneness? And yet we have a difficult time as humanity connecting to unconditional love. Because to me, oneness and love they're two sides of the same coin, right? And I thought maybe we don't have as good of a grip on oneness as we think we do. And if oneness is an essential building block for unconditional love, and unconditional love is an essential building block for being one in the abundance. And abundance is an essential building block for feeling the love. Then we can get ourselves caught in this, we don't know where to get on the merry-go-round. So today we're going to get on the merry-go-round on this idea of oneness as an entry point for love. Are you with me? Okay, awesome. Good, because that's the talk I wrote. If you weren't down, I was going to have to think real fast. So the way I see oneness, the way I have experienced my personal growing awareness of oneness, there are kind of two parts of it. So the first part of it, I think, is best summed up by this wonderful quote from Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, in his book, Spiritual Awareness. He writes, "My real self is God, the eternal perfect self, the one undivided self. There could be no greater wholeness or more complete oneness. So I am made of that which brought me forth." Right? if God is all there is, this is how I logic it out in my head. If God is all there is, and it created everything, and there isn't anything else, there isn't an ungod, an anti-God. So everything is made of God, and here I am, and I'm pretty sure I exist. If not, this is one heck of a hallucination that you're having, because if I don't exist, I'm not having it. If I exist, then I have to be made of that perfect goodness, that absolute, I must be one in the one. And so then I think this, I am one in the one. And for whatever reason, all I hear is Jafar from Aladdin in my head going, ultimate cosmic power. I am one in the one. And it's important that we own and claim that moment because we're one in the one. And that's where we get the audacity to say, I deserve an infinitely abundant life. I deserve to be unlimited in what I manifest, what I experience, what I express, what I create. I deserve it. It's my truth. I am one in the one. Yeah? Yeah. We got to claim that and own it, or we can't be who we really are. We can't be who we really are. And when we really, really get this, when we really get it, like to the place where Cerise Patron sings from, like 14 feet below the ground, like way down there. When we get it to the core of our absolute being, it only makes sense that we can trust that there is more than enough. There's more than enough for me. I don't need to police where it comes from. I don't need to chase it. I don't need to earn it. I don't need to hustle it. I don't need to dance the dance. I apparently might need to get a butt pat from Tom. But I mean, that's just good luck. We don't have to earn that which is inherently our birthright. And our culture has taught us that we have to earn, scrape, beg, try, force, wring out every last drop of effort until we are sick and tired and poor and weak, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It is not in our best interests as individuals, as divine expressions of absolute oneness. It doesn't work. I am one in the one. I can trust that the universe is conspiring to bring me that which I need. As long as I'm agreeing and aligning, that's all I got to do, right? And yet I can stand up here and stomp around about that, so I must know it pretty well. And do I always 100% of the time show up with perfect abundance and perfect love? No, not yet. Not yet. I do better than I used to. But I wouldn't be of any use to you if I stood up here and pretended like I'm not on the same journey. Of course I am. I'm a people. So if I am one in the one is an essential half, but is only half of the equation of oneness, what is the other half? To me, it is best spoken to in this second quote from Ernest Holmes, also from the book Spiritual Awareness. When we awaken the mind to an awareness of this divinity within us and recognize that this same presence must be in everyone and in everything, we cannot have any feelings of aloneness. We cannot meet a stranger. We cannot recognize an enemy. We cannot know any sense of separation. So sometimes it goes from, I am one in the one, to, oh yeah, we're all one in the one. And it can be like this, I'm one in the one. Oh, we're all one in the one, so I'm a tiny worm. I'm a grain of sand on the beach of humanity. I'm not special at all. But then we rebound, we get our head on straight, and we realize this means everyone is one in the one. And if everyone is one in the one, and I am one in the one, then I am one with everybody. Everybody. I am one with Celeste. Celeste is one with me. I am one with Paula and Mike and Bobby and Rachel and Nancy. And I'm going to stop listing names because this would be a really long part of the service. But if I am one with everybody, then it's not just I trust this mythical concept of the universe that I'm going to be okay. It's I can trust you. I can trust you that you will do things that are good for me and not actively do things that are against me. I can trust you. I can trust people out on the street. I can trust people I don't know because the overwhelming energy of life is good. It doesn't mean bad things never happen, but it means the overall impulse of humanity is good, and I can trust that. I can trust that. And the more we get to know one another, the deeper that trust gets. If there is one thing I have learned from my practitioner and ministerial journey, it's how absolutely freaking unbelievably magical every single person is. If you think someone isn't interesting, you haven't talked to them. Not really. It is so possible to spend time working at a table with somebody outside, or even going to lunch with somebody and not really know who they are. But you get them talking, and you find out that this one was in the Peace Corps in the 60s in a war-torn area and saved babies. And you find out that this one over here has multiple PhDs that you never even knew about and is brilliant. And this one's writing her 3rd book. When we open ourselves up to the idea that everyone is as amazing as our favorite person, we find out that everybody, including those people, I know you know who those people are. Everybody's got a different version of who those people are in their head right now, but you know them, right? Those people are just as amazing, just as loving, just as powerful, just as motivated, care about their families just as much, want to feel the sense of oneness just as much. Yeah? And when we let ourselves open to this idea that, we're all one in the one, we're starting to get the beginning of what that unconditional love actually means. It can't be, I love you because you're doing the thing that I think is good. I mean, we love lots of people that do good things, but that's not unconditional. I just literally named the condition, right? It can't be, I love you if you agree with me. I love you if you'll support my thing. I understand why people say, I just want a community of like-minded people, but do we hear what we've just done when we do that? We just built an energetic sign above our building that says, except not you, whoever you are, except not you. We're radically inclusive, except not you. We're like-minded. Do you fit? If not, we don't mean to do it, but we do it, don't we? And so the call is to ask ourselves, how do we take down the walls? So I think of it like this. That's us, looking over the edge of the wall. Why doesn't everyone come to New Vision Center and love us? We ask from behind the wall that we built with our own consciousness. Why doesn't everybody get super involved? Why don't you love me? Why don't you go all the way in? Because I'm all the way in. Don't I look all the way in right now? Why don't you share your heart with me? I mean, I'm not going to share mine with you. I'm going to stay guarded behind my wall. But why don't you with me? Part of deciding to follow a faith tradition like this is deciding that I'm going to be the one that takes down my wall first. I'm going to be the one that takes down my wall first. Brick by brick, concept by concept, I will take down the walls in me that stop my ability to love you exactly the way you are. Because we are one in the one. We teach that each one of us are made exactly the way we are because this version of ourselves is what is needed for the highest unfoldment of humanity, right? And we wrap ourselves in that cocoon of self-acceptance because it's so important. And then we go, yeah, but you change. I am made in the likeness of the one that brought me forth, but you look a little wonky. Doesn't work like that. We don't get to be made in the likeness and image of infinite perfection while somebody else is wrong. Either we believe it or we don't. Take a breath. So how do we start to dismantle the walls? Where do we start? The first wall, the first brick, is about the need to be right, the need to win, the need to gather evidence. Ooh, I know. Need another breath? We can do another breath. You know what? Go ahead and be right. We'll let you be right. As long as everybody else gets to be right too. I see question marks floating in the air. How can that be? If I'm right and they disagree, they must be wrong. What if, just go with me on a journey here, what if there are infinite ways to be right? That there are ways that might not be what you would choose, but that doesn't make it wrong, it just makes it different. What if? I think that in order to begin to dismantle the wall that stops us from loving one another, we don't really have to take the brick down and smash it with sledgehammers and then blow it up. I think we just need to hold it a little bit more lightly, maybe loosen the mortar, allow ourselves to live in the question. I know what I think, but what if there's value to that other idea that feels so counter to mine? What if? What if they get to be right too? Even if that means we can't be together anymore. That's why I asked Jeff to read that Rumi poem. Even if it means I have to let go of an intention or a dream or a plan I had because the circumstances work out that each of our correct answer means maybe we don't share a company anymore. Maybe we don't live in the same house anymore because I value your right, your God-given right to walk out your truth. So rather than hold you here with me and make you wrong and squash you into a different shape, I'm going to love you enough to let you decide what's right for you. Whether it's about faith tradition or political persuasion or hobbies and preferences, the way people think other people should look or move or have their being, what if we can stay in a place of love in the same room while desiring different things? What if? And the minute we let that question live in here, we've softened that white-knuckled grip on our need to control every aspect of everybody, everywhere. That control stops us from being able to participate in that infinite, abundant life. The next brick I think we need to start to jiggle loose is the need to judge and separate. So this is building on the same theme, right? So there is one thing to say, you know what? We're going to do this differently. We can be side by side. Maybe not in the same company, but in the same town. Maybe not in the same church service, but going to lunch together after. But when we are so stuck in rightness, that can grow into judgment and separation, to the pushing away, to the feeling tone when somebody comes here to New Vision Center that maybe sees life a little bit differently than the general population here does, a feeling tone of they just don't fit in. Maybe they should go to Christ Church of the Valley. They got a really good band over there. Dude, they do. It's a good band. We got a really good band too. When we start to feel like we need to force groups of people, whole groups of people out of our life as them, the other, the not us, the stupid people. I know you've never said that. The ones who hate America. That's always an interesting one to me. How can we ever love someone that we have shoved so far away from ourselves that we've basically made them another kind of entity? We remove their humanity when we do that. And we're right, so we're justified. We're right, so we're justified. It makes me think of a story of two brothers. There were two brothers, and they had farmed adjoining farms for more than 40 years in harmony. They shared equipment. They shared knowledge. One would fix the other one's fence because he was a good fence fixer. One was really good if the cows got colic. And they had their separate farms, but they worked together for over 40 years. And then one of them did a thing. It was a little bit of a misunderstanding, and then it grew into more of a misunderstanding, and then it grew into a fight. And now everybody's mad, right? So mad. So the older brother one day gets a knock on his door, and he answers, and it is a man carrying a carpenter's toolbox. And he says, I'm looking for some work for a couple of days. Is there anything that you need done around the house? I would be happy to stay and do this work for you. And the brother says, my stupid brother, he widened this drainage ditch to get water over to his farm, and he ended up creating this huge creek, and I know he did it to make me mad. I know he did it to aggravate me, because now our farms are totally, he's made a point. So could you build me something that means I do not have to stand on the edge of that creek and see his farm? I do not want to stand on the edge of that creek and see his farm over there. And the man said, I gotcha. I understand what you need. I can do this. I can build something that will make you happy. So the man went off to do his tasks for the day, and as the sun's going down, he goes out to look and see what the carpenter has built so that he doesn't have to stand on the edge of that creek and look at his brother's farm. And when he gets there, he's shocked because the man has built the most beautifully crafted bridge with these lovely carved handrails right over that creek to his brother's farm. And just as the man is about to start tearing into this carpenter because this is not what he meant, he sees his brother coming across the bridge saying, I hear your heart. I understand you. I'm so sorry I upset you. It was not my intention. Thank you for being the bigger person and building this bridge so we can be together whenever you want and this creek will not divide us. I don't know what your creek is. I don't know what the misunderstanding that built your creek is. I don't know what your brother thinks you were intending, when you widened your drainage ditch. But I do know that there is always a bridge that can be built if we are open to what can be good when we come over the bridge. It may not look like it did before. It may not look like what your brain thinks should be, but love is amazingly elastic. It can change shapes and forms. It can stretch across continents. It can stretch across necessary silences and still be love. There's one more brick we're going to shake loose today, and that is the brick that is our need to protect and hoard, to save our stuff from the people who want to take it, to protect our beloveds from the people who want to harm them. If we are one in the one, and we are all one in the one, we must put down our need to keep other people away from my good. It means opening up to the idea that maybe it doesn't matter so much if, like Jeff read in the poem, if we live a life without feet, meaning we're not attached to the way it needs to look. If we let ourselves float just a little bit above our need to hustle and gain and hoard and claim, and start letting that flow work through us, whether it's through sharing our money, our food, our home, our kindness, opening up our relationships to a deeper depth with one another. But it means we have to let go of the belief that somebody's trying to take my goodness. Maybe they are. But if we are one in the one, can we ever run out of goodness? We can't. If we believe this oneness malarkey that these ladies keep getting up and talking about, then even if somebody took every single thing we'd ever gathered, the universe would just start replacing it immediately. That is living as one with the abundant universe through love. So in closing, I have another little story. There was a man who was very wealthy, and he was very aware he didn't want his kids to grow up with a lack of understanding of the realities of the world. So he very consciously planned a trip with his oldest son, who was about 6, to go stay on a farm, maybe the same farm, I don't know, with a family who was, considered relatively poor. They were a city family. He'd grown up with servants and all the luxuries of life. And he wanted his son to know that there are other ways to be in the world. So they stayed at this farm for a few days, and the son helped with chores. He'd never really done that before, and he learned a lot. And on the way home, the dad asked him, "So, did you enjoy the trip?" And the son, "Absolutely, I loved this trip." "And did you learn about how poor people live?" And the son said, I did. I really didn't know, but now I know." And he said, "What did you see?" And the son said, "I saw that I have one dog, and they had 4. We have a large pool that reaches to the middle of the garden. They have a creek that has no end. We have fancy imported lanterns in our garden that Mom is very proud of. But they can see the stars at night. Our patio reaches the front yard, and they have the whole horizon. We have a small piece of land. We have a nice yard. They have fields beyond our sight. I walked for a whole day and didn't get to the end of them. We have servants. but they serve each other. We have walls around our property to protect us. They have their friends to keep them safe. Thanks, Dad, for showing me how poor we are. I really learned. We have friends to keep us safe. We have the oneness of life to nourish us. We don't need anything else. This is the truth of love. And so it is. And so I invite our ministers and practitioners of religious science and our practitioners in training to take a stand with me today as we anchor this prayer. So good it is to lean into the knowingness that we are one in the one, that we are all one in the infinite oneness that we call God. That there is no place where any one of us stops existing and the other one begins. That in this cycle of infinite abundance, that is the walking out of love as life itself, there is more than enough good for every beloved. More than enough money and resources, more than enough food, more than enough places to live, more than enough ingenuity to rearrange the resources of this planet to make sure every beloved has all the things that they need to be a walking example of the creation of a world that works for everyone, where no one is shut out, where no one is left alone, including each one of us within the sound of my voice. And so I just speak a word of blessing on each of us, knowing that that which was on our heart when we came into this service today is met by that indwelling Spirit, that there is a healing now, and I call it good. And so it is.